All right, welcome back to another video on our node by node challenge where we're going through every single node in the Blender shading workspace and trying to show you a little bit about how they work and how you can use them. So we've gone through so far the input, output, color, and now we're on converters section. And today we're going to be talking about the float curve. So float curve is a nifty little tool that allows you to change the interpolation of a object. So all that basically means is you're manipulating what it looks like. Okay, so and basically the where the texture or the material or anything is located on your object and in what like form. So, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's say you took a noise texture and you plugged it in. Let's say you're trying to create a texture, and we haven't even got into the color part of it. So let's just talk about like what the actual pattern is on the object. So you're creating a pattern on an object and you plug in a noise texture because you think maybe a noise texture is going to work, right? Because there's noise, Voronoi, wave textures, all kinds of things you can use, but we're going to use noise, right? So we plug in the noise and we're like, yeah, this doesn't really look like what I want it to be. You change through all the settings on here and you're like, yeah, none of these really look like what I want, but I still want to be able to use the noise texture. I like the way it's set up. So what you can do is you can use this float curve and you can drop the float curve in. Now what it's going to do, and let's reset this curve to standard. So now normally it's going to look like this, so it's not going to have any change to it. But what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to manipulate the curve. So basically the lights, the darks, the contrast, and everything in here, and where the pattern is located. So for example, let's say that I drop this down a little bit and I make the curve go down this way. You're going to see that it's going to have a pretty strong contrast between the blacks and whites. Okay, but it looks like it has the same pattern. Well, let's take and let's drag this one up. Put it almost up to the top. Now what you'll see is, oh wait, it's still really strong white and black, but now it's a lot less of the pattern. So now this almost looks kind of like Dalmatian skin, right? Coloration, right? Some spots and stuff like that. And you can manipulate this however you want. You can add additional points in. Let's say you want to make it like kind of splotchy, or you know, you want to move this around. However you want to do this. You know, you could separate it however you want. And then once you're done with that, this factor here allows you to control the blend of it. So like maybe you want it to be 50-50. You want some of those splotches, but you also want it to be, you know, some of this new one you created. So it allows you to control that. You know, it also allows you to plug other things into the factor. So let's say that you wanted to control it with like some sort of mask, or in this case, I'm just going to throw on a Voronoi texture. So let's say we use a Voronoi texture and plug this distance into the factor. Well, now it's going to control which one it's using based on the Voronoi and how I have the Voronoi set up. So it's going to, as I raise this up, it's going to move them around and you're going to see the texture change even yet again. So there's all different things you can do, and once you create your texture and you get your texture how you want it, now you can add in things like color, and it allows you to do something like a color ramp. I'll just use something simple for that, you know, and instead of using black and white, you just want to be able to change the colors on here. Maybe you want to change them to blue and you want to use red. Okay, so what that does is it just allows you to control this pattern that's on here, control the mix of how it's done, you know, anything that you want in here. So it's just a real basic tool, like I said, and all these different ones down here mean it's just how these are separated. So if you look at when you drag it, it comes to a point on this one. If you do it this way, it's more rounded. So it gives you an idea of how it's set up. So hopefully that helps you a little bit, gives you a little bit of insight into what the float curve is. Like I said, all it is another tool to manipulate the material or objects that you have. So that's the next one in here. Make sure you like, save, follow, and share it, and then I will be back for our next video.